Hello.
Hello.
Can you see me?
I can, and I think chat can as well. Chat, can you confirm? Can you see?
Sheesh.
Sheesh.
Is there a delay or is it like
I think
pretty
it's.
live?
I know we're live. We're live. I think there's like two,
Right.
3 seconds. You know how it is with Twitch. But I
Mm-hmm.
think everything's fine, guys. I hope you guys can confirm that it's fine. It is Mr. Nikhil Hathiramani. I first said that name 3 years ago, and you said I said it beautifully. Do you
Yeah,
agree?
you did. You did. You were the only person in that time frame, at least that I encountered, that said it actually correct. So
What?
good job.
Really? Dude,
Yeah.
I'm in good books for Nikhil.
You should link them the first
The
podcast
first
that we
podcast,
did.
I think I should. Let me. We have it. Okay, it's 17:29 my time, so we have 1 minute to just chill. Let me send you the link to that first ever podcast that I did with Nikh 3 freaking years ago, and you'll see my face there with very stupid hair.
I don't know. I think I look the same.
No, yeah, well, you're wearing the cap, dude.
Yeah, it's funny because I was
Is
wearing the CS Go to Asia hat that
yes,
time, and now I'm wearing the Paper X hat. So
yes. So it's
yeah,
it's just a bit different that way, but
a
I
little
think
bit, just a little bit.
just a little bit different. So still the same Nikh though,
Alex
but
says slightly bigger. Yes, I would agree on that for sure.
slightly bigger. That's me
Slightly.
actually, not just you, me. Yeah, I am
I mean,
bigger too.
why? Let me guess. Your
Yeah,
excuse.
yeah.
COVID hit. Like it
That's
was a
one.
bitch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one. What else?
The grind
The
started. You're just
grind
sitting in front
started.
of
Yeah, yeah.
your desk all day.
Yep. That's part
The
of it
next
as
thing you
well.
know, you look at the weighing scale. You plus 10 kg, and you're like, "Fuck this shit." Might as well go more.
At first it was 10. At first it was only 10.
Yeah,
But then it
yeah.
started creeping up again. It's 11, 12, and then in the end it's 13. I get plus 13 kg since I moved here to Jakarta. Oh my god.
Well, the food is good. I don't blame you.
I know. It's awesome. And I have a girlfriend here, a loving girlfriend. You know how it is with
Nice.
girlfriends,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah. It tends to happen when you're in a relationship. That's like the
Exactly.
unwritten rule, you know.
You just eat.
Even if you're Mr. Fit, yeah, a couple of kgs will creep in there.
Yeah, there's no denying that gonna happen. All right, it is
All
time,
right.
man, dude. It's been 3 freaking years. I can't believe that we actually did this before, and now we're here,
Yeah.
and so much shit happened in that
So much.
3 years. There's so
I
much
don't know
for
where
yours.
do we even start,
I
you
don't
know?
freaking know, dude. But I think we gotta just start at the very beginning. With people. There are people who here asking, "Who is Nikhil?" I can't believe you guys. You guys are imbeciles, not knowing who this
Well, I
man
mean,
is.
I am a nobody until I'm a somebody, right? Like that's how it is,
That
I
is
guess,
actually
you know.
that makes sense. But you
So,
you are a somebody to me, at least. Like
okay,
even
appreciate
since
that.
like way back, with CS:GO to Asia, with everything you've been
Yeah.
doing with Counter Strike, and now of course Valorant. You're still doing CS:GO stuff as well, right?
Yeah, we
With
are. I
yeah.
mean, well, we're trying.
Mm,
To be honest, like obviously with the way the region is going, the way Counter Strike is going in this
yeah.
region, it always feels like, to be honest, since day one with CS:GO to Asia, it's always felt like an uphill battle, right? Um,
Yes.
like we were one of the few people that were doing English coverage for Counter Strike in Asia, and
Mm,
then we still are one of the few people focused on that.
yeah.
And I mean, the reality is like Counter Strike is dead in this region. Let's be honest. Not to say that people don't play it; like people still play a lot, but the pro
True.
scene has just shifted to Valorant, and
Yeah.
I think it's understandable. It's a natural progression. Counter Strike is still a tier one esport
It
in the global
is
sense, right?
huge. Yeah.
Still enjoy watching it. Lots of people watch
True.
it. But yeah, it's just we've sort of kept CS:GO to Asia alive
Mm.
because, to be honest, it's harder to part ways with it than it is
Yeah,
to
I get what you mean.
try and change it in any way.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Okay, so let's get on that, right? You said it's harder to part ways with it, and I think something I want to say here is that when you started everything related to esports, CS:GO, and now Valorant, and everything that's going on with Impulse Entertainment, that's what it's
yes,
called,
that's
right?
right.
Impulse Entertainment.
Hmm.
It must have started as a passion thing, right? There's no way it's not a passion thing. You can't tell me that it didn't start because it was just pure passion. But
Of
is
course.
that true? And if it is, how much has it evolved until this point where you're sitting here talking to me about things that we're gonna be talking about? Like, has that evolved in any way? Since the beginning. Like, how did it start, and then how did it evolve along the way?
Yeah, it's a great question because, like, you're right. I mean, I would start with saying that anyone who starts a team has to be crazy. Okay. And I mean that in the nicest way
Yeah,
possible. Like,
crazy,
being a
crazy.
team owner, being someone who is in charge of a team, running a team. I'll start with this, okay? It's not a good business. Let's just get that out of the way. Like, when you talk about, like, I went to business school, and like
Yeah,
lots of
yeah,
people I know who are like in that world, in the VC world, like, it's not a good business. But why do people invest in teams? It's a future. It's a passion. There's brand building behind it, right? There's fandom,
definitely.
and what you're seeking is ultimately getting a household name, ultimately getting wins, championships, right? And these things take time. Like, you're not just going to start winning from day one. But like, realistically, starting a team on its own, just like pure team, you're going to need some sort of financing, right, to,
Yep,
to get started.
definitely.
And that's kind of like what happened at the start of 2020. Was I was doing CS:GO to Asia. I kind of left my full-time job. I dived into CS:GO to Asia full time. That's kind of like around the time that we did the podcast. I think we
Yeah.
did the podcast a year before that. I was still kind
Yes.
of juggling full-time job and running CS:GO to
Right.
Asia on the
Right.
side. But then when I finally decided to just like take that leap of faith and do this full time, like be an esports journalist, like God forbid, like everyone in like Indian and Chinese culture in Singapore, it's like doctor, lawyer, engineer, some sort of like specialist profession. And here I am jumping into like
What are you
esports
doing?
journalism. So A, you got to be a little bit crazy to do
Yeah.
that. B, you got to have a little bit of courage, I guess. And
Yes.
one thing, of course, is passion and like some level of like domain knowledge and
Yeah.
expertise.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
it really just occurred to me at that point in time. I was like, what? I was like 32, and I was like, I know so much about Counter Strike. I need to do something with this
Mm,
knowledge.
mm.
Like, looking back, I've been playing Counter Strike, involved with Counter Strike for 50% of my life.
Damn.
Some people weren't even born when I got started playing this game. I'm really sounding really old here, but that's the truth. And and
I feel
it,
you.
it was it, it was just kind of like this perfect storm. The stars aligned. My buddy Matt, who's a
Mm,
co-founder with us at Impulse and PaperX, he was really keen to start a team. And like any good thing that starts, it was over a cup of coffee. I kind of just pitched him this idea of like, look, why don't we combine your your vision and mission to
mm.
start a team with like this media stuff that I've been doing.
Right.
Let's try and marry them two together, and let's just like take over SEA, right? Let's just like
Damn.
dominate SEA. But then, like you said, to answer the second half of your question,
Mm.
has it evolved? Yes. I mean, we were very ambitious at the start. I would say I was very ambitious. I told the whole founding members team, it was like, yeah, we can do CS:GO to Asia, Valorant to Asia, PUBG to Asia, Dota to Asia,
Everything.
everything to Asia,
Oh,
and PaperX. Like, that
damn.
was like the grand dream. Like, we're just
Yeah.
gonna have all these
Yeah.
media sites, and we're gonna do news and content. We're gonna do podcasts. Like,
Shit.
I even mentioned your name. I was like, yeah, we're gonna get Andy on board, and like we're gonna do podcasts with him. And I mean,
Oh.
all of these things, but in reality, once you get your hands dirty and
Yeah.
you start doing stuff, like, it's a big slap in the face, and
It
you learn a lot,
is.
and it becomes a humbling experience. You're trying to pace yourself, you're trying to come up with new shit, but at the end of the day, you've got to focus on what you're good at. And then that's also kind of just what led down to the path of PaperX. Like, we were a
Mm.
Counter Strike team first,
Yeah, that's right.
uh, right? And then Valorant sort of creeped its way up, and we
Mm.
were like, what the fuck are we doing with Counter Strike? Like, we're trying so hard in this game, we're getting nowhere. For the whole of 2020, we just kept losing on these slots. Like, Asia only had
Right.
one slot, like, every single time, and PaperX would perpetually come second or third
Oh
or
man,
second
that hurts.
or fourth. Like, so, like, believe me, guys, you may see our success now with PaperX, and like, we're the number one, whatever team in Southeast Asia. Um, but like, that didn't come with a lot of failures behind it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of learnings, a lot of failures in the Counter Strike space, and even in the early days of Valorant. Like, we didn't just like hit the ground off running. Like, We had a couple of,
Exactly. Yeah.
losses and fourth place finishes, what have you. So
Yeah, I want to
it's a
get into
journey.
that. I want to get into that. And before
Sure.
we actually jump into the whole PaperX journey, we're just going into it. Um, I want to say it was a genius idea to marry that, media coverage and team, a pure competitive team, because I feel like a lot of people don't understand that esports is still a business. That's one thing, but two, it's an entertainment business, right?
Yep.
You you can compete, and you have to compete, right? You have to
Yep.
win. I mean, if you don't win, then who the hell are you? Who's gonna look at you and think, oh, Paper X. Now that Paper X has won everything, oh, Paper X, yeah, I know Paper X, exactly, right?
Yeah, it's
But
true. It's true.
I also look at what you do with your graphics, with your designs, with your posts on social media. Those things matter a lot, man, because I think that's what garnered you all these followers, all these fandom that you talked about, and it was simply because you married the right things together and you produced the
Mm.
best kind of child that you could have produced because of those two things converging, and I think it's produced some nice results, to say the least,
Yeah.
right? And
Thank
and
you.
and I'm happy to be here talking to you about it. And so let's get into paper eggs. And you mentioned you didn't get good right from the get go. And I am a witness to this because when PaperX first made the transition into Valorant, you scrimped us. PaperX scrimped Alter Ego. I was still coaching for Alter Ego. And I,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
remember telling the boys, yeah, these guys suck.
Well, was it like the first month or
The
something that we
first
turned?
month, literally the
Yeah, I
first
mean,
month.
we probably sucked balls at that
Yeah,
time. Yeah.
dude, I'm not gonna lie to you. I told the boys, yeah, these guys suck. But there was still this notion that, oh man, Paper X is gonna be that team, because there was Forsaken, there was Davai, and every pro player in the Indonesian scene, at least the people that I know, have told me, you know what, fuck, Paper X made the transition. I'm probably gonna retire in the next 2 months.
Oh no.
Because they're not about to play Davai, they're not about to play Forsaken, which was the two names back then. That was really
Mhm.
the household name in Counter Strike. We know
Right.
how good they were, and now they're making
Hmm.
it to Valorant, and we know now that they're so freaking good. But even back then, there was that fear of Paper Eggs. But of course, results also speak for itself, and the first year was kind of rough. Not gonna lie. And it was
Yeah, it
until
was.
the last quarter of last year, and of course now that you've won, I really want to ask this: how did you guys cope with that? Disappointing result. I guess part of it was because you've gone through CS:GO to Asia's journey. You know how hard it is. You know how hard it is to do an uphill battle, and I guess you've got experience. But what about these players? What about the rest of the team? How did they, manage to keep doing the work while also being faced with results that didn't really meet your expectations?
Yeah, I mean, all right. There's a few parts to this question, I guess.
Yeah.
First part, I would start with us making the decision to transition from Counter Strike to Valorant. I think Alex has been on a couple of podcasts and talked a little bit about this before
Mm-hmm.
about how they had to cope with it, which I can get into that part, but I encourage you guys to go check out those. Just a quick search,
Oh,
Alex and Elfish podcast. He talks a little bit about
yeah.
that. Um, but yeah, fundamentally, I would say Counter Strike decision to move from Counter Strike to Valorant was kind of obvious,
Mm,
right? Towards the end of 2020, thankfully we were starting to make progress with the CS team.
right.
In 2020, we had a few roster changes. I believe we changed about 3 players in total, and that's when like
Wow.
Ben Kai joined us after he finished the army.
Okay.
So Ben Kai joined us with the CS team, and then Forsaken joined around the same time. And
Mm,
then that's when we felt like we actually had the pieces of the puzzle for a proper competitive Counter Strike team, right? And the results started to come, but there was always this thing in the back of our head, like, what are we doing? Why are we wasting our time? And you're in this space. You hear rumors. Valorant had not been released at that
no.
point yet, towards the end of 2020, but
Yeah.
it was knocking on the door, and there was fear, I would say. Definitely there was fear. There was like a feeling of like, oh god, what happens if this game comes out? Counter Strike's gonna gonna die, and that means the chances of our team are even less. And to an extent, we were right. I mean, and I
Mm.
think everyone was right in that regard. Like, you would like to think that Counter-Strike had the staying power because it's been around for so long, you know? And it still is around. It's not that it's
Yeah,
just like vanished, but in our region specifically, like it never really had a foothold, right? I mean,
it was rough.
it was always overshadowed by mobile esports,
Oh
by
yeah,
other games,
definitely.
the free to play games as well. Like the Valve's stupidest decision was not making Counter-Strike free to play earlier,
It was
you
too
know?
late. Yeah,
Way too late.
way too
Way too
late.
late. So like I'm going on a tangent here, but essentially what happened was we were the ones, us as management, made the
Okay.
decision like we're going to transition the team. Now, what some people maybe don't realize, I mean, for those of you who've been following us since day one, you know this, but for most people, they may not realize that at one point we did have a Valorant and a CS:GO
Right.
squad.
Yeah, I remember that. I think.
So that was intentional, of course, because we wanted to experiment. We're like,
Mm.
look, we're FPS guys. We know this space. Here's this new kid on the block.
Mm.
Valorant came out, and it was quite hot and exciting. And there was a lot of players that weren't on teams in Counter Strike, that just decided, you know what, screw Counter Strike. Let's try this new game and try our luck.
Mm.
And so we were watching. We were witnessing all the different teams and players in the region that were performing, and one of the teams the Singapore guys came up to us and approached us and said, "Hey, are you looking for a team?" And we were like, "Yeah, why don't we try out like having two teams and see how it goes?" You know, without getting into too much detail, that was a nightmare for us. For more reasons than the obvious that people think. Like on one reason was, of course, some of the players we had on that team did really stupid shit and
Mm.
you know, cost us a few slots and like the ignition series, I think it was, we had qualified for, and then we had to pull out because like one of our players was like account sharing and this and that and that. But
Yikes.
these were all the lessons that we learned that kind of guided us like, okay,
Yeah.
let's not make these mistakes. I mean, we're a new org, um, but then on the flip side, we're looking at our Counter-Strike guys and we're like, there's nothing wrong with these dudes. Like they have good heads on their shoulders, they're professional, they can aim really
Oh
well,
yeah. Oh
right?
yeah.
So really, it was just a question of like they just got to learn a new game. I mean,
Yeah.
how hard can that be? Like they've got, people don't realize that being a professional player, it's not just about you can shoot heads and you can do this. Like,
No.
you have to be a professional in a holistic point of view. You have to carry yourself well. You have to, follow what people tell you to do. You have to just, keep your head down and grind and work
Mm.
hard. And that's like, honestly, there's no secret to success. It's just hard work. And
Mm.
so when we saw this like night and day difference between our Valorant boys and our CS:GO guys, we decided like, let's not waste anybody's time here. Let's just switch games and focus. And of course, there was a risk there because we hadn't run this by the players yet. Like
Yeah.
we didn't
You
get them
didn't?
involved in no, we didn't get them involved in the decision like from
Oh.
the very start. It was like a decision that evolved. So
Right.
they were busy playing Counter-Strike
Yeah.
tournaments, and
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
busy like winning, actually slowly
Mhm.
winning. And then at the peak is when we won the Extremes Land Southeast
Mhm.
Asia, right? But literally, I think it was like a week or two before that event, we already sort of planted the seeds with the CS:GO guys, right? So with Alex, with Davai, with Ben, Forsaken, and at that time was Tommy,
Yes.
right? So we asked them. We said, "Look, guys, you guys are doing well in CS now. We wanna pursue CS still, if that's something that you guys want to do." But we present it as a case study. Like there's Counter Strike and there's Valorant, and then let's see like how the teams are doing in Valorant, right?
Okay.
So we looked at the competitive landscape. We looked at the future tournaments that were announced that were about to, I think VCT had been announced,
Yeah.
like the whole
The whole
schedule for the
circuit.
year.
Yeah.
And I was astounded. I mean, like I previously had no experience working with Riot Games or part
Mm.
of any Riot, um, part of the Riot ecosystem
Yeah.
whatsoever. So, it was very refreshing for us to suddenly see like a whole year's calendar of events like planned out. Like in Counter Strike, you have visibility for like the next 1 week, and then you're like, what are we playing? What are we training for? Like, what is
Oh,
the point?
Valve. Classic
Right?
Valve. Yeah.
So essentially we made that pitch to the team and we said like, guys, you can do this or you can do that. Okay? And here are the pros and here are the cons. But we said if you go down the Counter-Strike path, here are our conditions. And our conditions were very, very like, we're not the type of people that are like super strict, like you get first place or you're out of this team, you know?
Okay.
But at that point in time, we were kind of like that.
Mm.
We felt like we had to give ultimatums because one whole year of like lackluster results. Like, let's be honest, most teams would just get rid of you as a roster
That's
if
right.
you had one whole year of lackluster results. But
Not even 1 year. I think 3 months, and you don't get results out, bro. What are you doing here?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So we were just at this position where like, okay, now it's like good cop, bad cop, and bad cop was CS and good cop was Valorant,
Okay.
right? And luckily, I think it was like almost no hesitation amongst the players. Like we told them this like on a Friday,
Mm.
and it was like Saturday evening or Sunday morning. I can't remember. Alex was just like, "We're good to go. The boys want to play Valorant." So I was like, "Well, like that button, like that was easy."
Dude, that was unexpected. Because there's a lot of things that go into this decision, right? First of all, of course,
Mm.
management made it. That's fine. That's totally fine. It's a organization. You have the heads making the decisions. That's totally fine. But when it comes to gaming, there's that factor of whether a player wants to play the game or not,
Of course, you
right?
can't force them, and that's like
Exactly.
the worst thing you can do, right?
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
guess it was just easy because fortunately for you guys, the players kind of loved transitioning to Valorant. I saw at the end of the days of the PaperX CS:GO, Forsaken was playing and streaming Valorant nonstop, right? Even
Yeah.
as he was competing in Counter-Strike, he streams Valorant. So even in the Indonesian community, we were already all joking about Forsaken making it
Mm.
to Valorant because he hasn't started playing for PaperX Valorant yet, but he played in a tournament in the Indonesian local community
That's right. I
with his
remember.
brother, and they
Yeah.
won that shit, right? So come on, people will say that, oh yeah, they're gonna make it to Valorant ASAP. But I
Yeah,
guess,
and
yeah. Sorry, you were saying?
I sorry to cut you off. I
Yeah,
I just remembered that there was this like one clip of Excurate
yeah.
like
The 1v5 overtime.
acing the round. Yeah, yeah. And then I was watching that game and I was also watching Jason. I'm like, dude,
Yes,
Jason's pretty good at Valo.
he's
Like,
fucking good, man. He's a
like because
god.
obviously we were so focused on Counter Strike,
Yes,
our
yes,
results,
yes,
and
yes, yes.
and then I was watching Jason's streams. Like, what the
And now
hell? This
you know
guy's
you see this whole side that just makes it
yeah,
even that much easier. You know what?
yeah.
Yeah, let's just switch. And apparently the boys just said, "Okay, no problem here."
Yeah, look, it wasn't like 100% like
Okay,
okay, but
all right.
and even like I can't speak for the players here, but I speak for like me and DSN and the rest of our
Oh yeah,
management.
DSN.
We're all
Oh my
Counter
god.
Strike guys,
Yes.
and we were just like, oh my god, this bloody cartoon game, like why?
Anime
Honestly,
Counter
like
Strike, man. Fuck this shit.
we're like, oh, do we really have to succumb to this? But like,
Ah.
no regrets,
Okay.
life has a funny way of pointing you in the right
Yeah.
direction, and like that's like here we are, right?
Voila.
And we all still love Counter-Strike, talk about it, follow it.
Yes.
You can still find joy out of it in other ways, but right now, like you have to play to your strengths, and like
Yeah.
Valorant just made sense. Eventually, I think everyone came around. I'm pretty sure like Benkai and Mindfreak were not as keen, but
Right.
objectively speaking, they understood it made sense, right? Because they could see like for Aaron, he could see like all his peers in Indonesia. I was like, I think I remember asking like, Aaron, do any of your friends play CS anymore? He's like, nope. You know, like all of his ex teammates, all of his friends in Indo, like none of them were playing Counter Strike, right?
Yikes.
So
So they
it
knew. They knew
they
that it
knew
made sense, and it's that part of being a professional, right? Like this is not just about them wanting to do what they want to do anymore. It's for the greater good of the whole team and the whole organization, and they followed through with it, and that's what made them the professionals that they are up to this
correct.
point, making it all the way to the top. Even though at the start they were like, I'm not sure about this cartoon fucking game," but they did it anyway. So that dude, I want to commend Mind Freak. Just a shout out to Aaron. right?
Yeah,
He
for sure.
improved so much, and now that we got more context from you, he's not as keen. And I guess it kind of showed a little bit last year. Like he was not the best performing player last year. Like people can tell you that, and I can tell you that. I don't know if you agree. If you want to defend your player, you can, but I don't think you can.
Well, I mean, I won't say anything bad or good. I mean, it's
I get it. I get it.
it's yeah,
It's a third party observation, right? And but
right.
now
You're never
though,
gonna have all your players hitting
of
the
course
mark,
not.
right?
But now
Yeah.
though, I want to say Aaron is like a carry in the team.
Oh, he's such an
He's
impactful
such an
player, you know?
impactful player, dude. I don't know how many plays. I've been doing the watch parties, right? I've been watching all the PaperX games as well. I don't know how many rounds that I looked at Aaron and I just cannot believe that he hit those kind of shots. He made those kind of plays and just won the round for the team. And I think if it was him last year, he wouldn't have any impact whatsoever in those kind of rounds. And now he does. And such a true professional. I just want to say that. So this is something that
It's
PaperX has, I think. The true professionals in the form of the player.
I mean, it's all on the players, right? Like we as the organization can only assist with bringing the structure,
Yeah.
with bringing the infrastructure, the support, guidance,
Mm.
keeping them in check, of course, making sure that they're comfortable,
Mm.
right? All the basics, basic human rights, just giving them, putting yourself in an environment that you are able to perform. But at the end of the day, it's up to the
Of
players
course.
to put in the hours, to put in the work, and to be able to have that openness to criticism. So like, I'd like to make a shout out to Alex because he was the one who had to transition twice, right? First
Yeah.
as a player to a
To a
coach.
coach.
He barely had enough time of being a coach for the CS team. Maybe I think it was like 6 months.
Wow.
So like it takes time. You're going from one very distinct role to another role,
Mm-mm.
and a coach role is very different to a player. Like,
So
you-
different.
especially with the absence of like a team manager. Alex was also juggling that like
Wow.
manager position, right?
Really? Damn.
Yeah. So he went from that player to like coach
Coach
manager,
manager.
and then suddenly we were like, Alex, you guys are playing a new game. Do you want to be the coach? And he's
Shit.
like, uh, he's like, I remember Alex was like, Nick, this game, I really don't like it. I really don't like it. And like, yeah, I think I can say this now because I think nobody has regrets and everyone understands that the decision was the right one. But me and Harley even had conversations. Harley's DSN.
Yes.
Like, do we need to replace Alex as a coach?
Oh my
Because
god.
if he doesn't have the willingness to put in the work and the time to get
It's
into
tough, man.
this game, it's tough, dude. Like, you yeah, it's like this type of situation reminds me of like when I talk to my parents or like my
Uh,
dad and like asking
mm,
your
mm.
your some 60 something year old dad to like change, you know? It's tough because you have this muscle memory, this knowledge, this
That's
domain
true.
expertise
That's true.
of this one game that you've been playing for 20 years, and suddenly someone says, "Nah, you're
Fuck
gonna
that
play
shit.
this cartoon CS version with spells and like frozen floors and like
Oh
smokes that
god
that
damn
have
it.
different
Yeah,
colors,"
yeah,
and you're
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Uh,"
Dude, that
you
is
know?
such an impossible thing to do, honestly. If you look at it, it's pretty insane, isn't it? If you have to transition
Yeah.
from this one game to a totally different game. Sure, it's still tactical FPS, and most of the things from Counter-Strike were ported over. Like, no changes whatsoever. It's
All
800.
the
Yeah,
fundamentals
all the
exist.
fundamentals are pretty much the same, right? The 800
Yeah.
credits, the pistol round mechanics, the economic mechanics, although there are some differences. Counter-Strike made some changes, right? But still, fundamentally it's the
Yeah.
same. You just have to add all these extra complexity from the spells and shit. And yeah, I can attest to that. Like being a coach in Valorant, I always tell people this, but it's kind of a shit job. Like you have a lot of things you have to focus on in this game.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the fundamentals of the team. You have to think about all these meta changes, all these updates every 2 weeks. CS:GO have updates every 2 fucking years. This
I mean,
game, yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So
But when
yeah.
CS has an updates, you get things like the R8, right? Which just like break the game.
Yeah, and then it got reverted 2 weeks later, and there's nothing changing in the end. So nobody used it anyway. But okay,
Mm,
now that's a good point, right? This transition was hard. and you as an organization made sure that the players have everything they needed to succeed. And one of it is, of course, support staff. Like Alex. Alex is a support staff, right? He's a coach and a manager. But now that you've had the success, I guess you can tell people now that no, you don't really need an analyst. How true is that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've never had an experience. Like, I'll be
Mm,
honest, I don't know. Like, we've never been put in a position where we've been able to utilize an
mm,
analyst. So I can't tell you how beneficial it is. If you go based on the results, I guess you could say no.
mm.
But I can't see how it would hurt, you know? Like having that extra pair of eyes. Like, I mean, I'm sure Alex is here in the chat. He would say, I love an analyst. I'd love a guy who could just like is like, the
Uh,
colloquial term, not to
yeah.
offend anyone, but it's like the demo bitch, right?
Yes. Yes.
You're the one going through Alex says 3. You're the one going through the demos and reviewing and,
Yes.
I imagine an analyst role is very tiresome, very
It is.
tedious,
It is.
right? And you're looking at each player and trying to find like strengths and
Yes.
weaknesses and what they can work on and give individual feedback versus just team feedback,
That's right.
which as a coach he does that, but like sometimes I'm guessing Alex as a coach doesn't have the time that he wishes he had with each player, right?
Yes.
Because there's only so and we all have the same hours in the day, and then if you're crunching for a tournament and you know that like specifically one player has an issue with like either a map or a
Or an
position on their
agent.
map,
Yeah. Yeah.
an agent, um, that they're going to have to get a little bit more attention, which then ends up taking away from the
From the
team.
team.
So having an analyst, I would assume would help tremendously.
Okay.
Yeah.
But results, man. You want APAC without an analyst. So people now saying, "Oh, teams need an analyst. Teams need an oh, look at Paper X." And not just an analyst. There was this huge fascination on boot camping, and you guys have no boot camp, do you?
I mean, we do,
You
but
do,
because
but you
of
don't.
travel
Yes,
restrictions and
yes.
all, we couldn't. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
basically, Paper X all played from their homes, the players,
Correct. Yeah.
and
And we've been doing that for like most of the time,
yeah.
like for pretty much the whole 2 years.
Have you ever had a boot camp, like a boot
We
camping
did.
session? You did.
We did at the very start, like
Oh,
before COVID, basically.
before
It was
COVID,
yeah, it was
that's
March of
irrelevant. Okay.
it was March of 2020 with the CS team. That was the last like boot camp we had.
So the whole of the Valorant journey for PaperX, you guys have never done a
Yeah.
boot camp session.
The first time like our previous squad with Shiba on it that we went to
Yeah, yeah.
Berlin with, that squad met all together for the first time in
In
Berlin.
Berlin.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
do you so okay. Do you have anything to say to these people who said, "Oh, we need a boot camp to win"?
I mean, it's all in your head, right?
Okay, okay. Elaborate, please.
I think I think it's like when you live life with expectations,
Mm,
you're chasing the expectation rather than what's actually in front of you,
mm,
you know? Um, I think like I'll be the first to say that I get annoyed at the Singapore guys here that don't use our office like all the time. I get annoyed
okay.
at them. Like, why aren't
Okay.
you going? But I think they have valid points too. They're like, Alex likes to tell me, Nick, well, the whole team's not here, so we don't really have the benefit of like having everyone together. But of course, they still use the training facility
Mm,
once in a while,
mm,
right? It obviously helps, even if it's just Jing and Benkai who are playing from
right.
Singapore. But let's be real, like 2 players out of 5 in the boot camp, is that really adding value? If anything, it only adds value for us, for the content team, for to be able to
Right.
do
Shoot
stuff,
the
right? When
mission,
they're
yeah.
in the office. But like it really doesn't add any extra value when it's like with if you don't have all 5. Um I think it definitely like look, it definitely helps when you have people together. You can't really quantify that like X factor value that it adds to a team, to the synergy, to the communication.
Mm, mm.
Even it's just little things like your IGL is sitting in the middle. He can like from the corner of his eye see
Yes. Look at
his
the monitors
team,
of his teammates.
look
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
monitors that they can assist. Like you can do jump peaks better. You
Yep, yep.
can you can smoke for your teammate, flash for your teammate, just from your peripherals, and you have more kinesthetic sense around you, and you just feel the vibes and those kind of things. But other than that, I would say the proof is in the pudding. Like if we were able to do it, I don't see why any other team can't achieve success without a boot camp. But it's definitely harder. Like we're playing on handicap, I like to tell the team,
Mm,
which was part of like our motivation to just work harder than other teams, you
okay.
know? Because you do, I guess you maybe get complacent when you're all in a
Right.
boot camp
Yeah,
together.
yeah, yeah.
It becomes a contagious energy. Like
That's
if
true.
one guy's like food coma, oh, can we
The rest
start
are
in
just
like
like, he's not practicing.
yeah,
Why should I? Right?
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
whereas sometimes I feel like the remote life and everyone's like, like show up for our first scrim at 2 p.m. and it's like at 2:05 and DSN will be like, "Where the hell is
Right.
so and so? Where the hell?" It's like you got to be on time, right? There's no excuse.
Yeah.
You're just sitting at home. It's literally like look at my bed and look at the computer. It's
It's like
you
two
you
feet
you
away.
have no
No
excuse. Yeah,
excuses.
yeah.
Okay. That's something that I really like to talk about. Because just last night I was talking about something that I feel having been involved in Valorant for the past year, right? Something that I feel is holding us back as a region is that lack of commitment from people. From most people, I would say.
Mm.
It's so hard to compete against all these other regions when they're practicing literally 10 to 12 hours a day. And here we see a lot of teams just doing 2 map scrims and then call it a day. So how much is that a true statement? And maybe you can, as a perspective from the PaperX, team, like how much do you practice? What's the work ethic like? And now that you've achieved the success that we all dream of, how can we as a region, as a country, for example, especially here in Indonesia, I come from Indonesia, I know how lazy we can get. What do we need to improve so we can catch up to you guys?
To us, like Paper X, or
Yes, to PaperX, because you guys are the champions
I
now.
mean,
I mean, come on, right? And
yeah,
also all
yeah.
these other regions, right? Because okay, before we get into that, do you feel like we've made it as a region, or have you made it as an organization? Like, do you guys feel like we've caught up with all these other regions like EMEA and NA?
Okay, I mean, I can answer that one
Okay.
quickly. Short answer, no.
No.
I think we have a long way to go,
Right.
right? I don't think APAC as a region can say anything until we get to at least like quarter. I mean,
Top four.
semis and
Yes.
above,
Yes.
right? And like when I say semis, I mean like it's a BO3 2-1, or like
And don't get
at least
destroyed.
take
Right.
take one map off
Yeah.
a semifinalist,
Okay.
or even get to a grand finalist. You don't have to
Right.
win the whole thing. Winning would be amazing, but like we haven't reached there. I
No.
mean, look at Counter Strike. Tyloo, the furthest they made was I think a top 8 ever, if I'm not wrong,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Or a top 16 even. Like they just got out of the first round of the
Yeah.
major. I can't remember,
Okay.
but like fast forward now, I mean, what Secret and the previous X10 did
Yes.
in Champions was amazing for our region, and I think
Definitely.
that has a lot of weightage into why, as the APAC seed one now, we are like
Yes.
put into the playoff
Top
bracket.
four, man.
That's all the heavy lifting that Secret
And you guys are the
and
one feeling the benefits. So
we're feeling the benefit. But in hindsight, we've also learned our lesson about the
right.
seeding match against Bren last
Oh
time, which we lost,
yeah, that was
which
important.
cost us the secret spot, which cost
That's
us the
true.
champion spot,
That's true.
right? So it's all connected, and I think
Yes.
that has APAC made it? No.
No.
But are we getting there? Yes. I
Okay.
think for being a game that's only 2 years old,
Oh yeah.
and for having the amount of players and teams and org support that we have, I think the future is bright for this region, for this game. But again, people just can't just give up so easily.
Okay.
You know, um, you've got to just keep working at it. If you found a recipe, like if you're a group of friends, I think the main thing to distinguish here is you've got player managed teams,
Mm.
right? And you've
Yes.
got org
Orgs.
managed
Mm.
teams. And in our region and even in Oceania, I think there's a lot of player managed teams. So my best piece of advice to these player managed teams. And when I say that, I mean you're a group of friends that have come together, formed a team, and you've taken part in like the VCT Opens. You've got as far as maybe qualifying for
Mm.
the top 16 of your region, but then you bomb out in the first round of the brackets, right? But like you have to think of each step of the way as a mini success, and
Mm.
that
Mm.
you have to understand that good things take time. And I see so many teams, and this is true from the past as well. They go to one tournament, they get like one lackluster result, disband. Or they've taken part in 3 tournaments, they've come top 8 each time, but couldn't get past top 8, disband, right? But if you spin the coin in the other direction, and you look at it from a different angle, go back to the open qualifiers and see how many teams registered. It's usually 40, 60,
Yeah,
80.
up to
In the
80.
case of Indonesia, I think it's like
Up
100
to
something
100,
teams.
yes.
So, and then you get disappointed because you're top 8. You
Right.
know?
If you put it
Like,
that way now, yeah, it's like, what the
hello,
hell,
you
man?
know?
What the hell?
Like top 8 is not a bad result.
Okay.
If you're chasing, I want to be number 1 in Indonesia, and then
Mm,
you've got Boom and
mm,
Onyx
mm,
and I don't know who else, Alter Ego, these big orgs that are paying players to play, and you're disappointed because you can't reach their level. Well, then I think you have to frame it differently, right? So it starts with more of like these players having a bigger broader mindset of like
mm.
looking long term. And then secondly, if you're 17 or 18 years old and you've already made it to the top 8 of your regionals, you're on the right track, right? Like, it's not your fault that you don't have a coach, that you don't have a mentor, you don't have
Mm,
an older player to guide you,
mm.
or that you don't know how like fundamentals work. There are so many resources. Like, look at Sleepy. You host these amazing workshops and you have a YouTube channel with has lots of like really useful information, and you're just one person. There's hundreds on the internet,
Yeah,
right?
that's
So
true.
if I was 18 today, I would kill to have all these resources,
I
you
agree.
know,
Dude, it
right?
was much harder 10 years ago. Remember the days in CS when I was trying to make it as a player back then, right? I was trying to improve, and I remember the only thing I could have done back then was download .dem files. .dem file, literally the demo system in Counter-Strike back then,
Yeah.
which a player uploaded into the internet. I had to look for it and then downloaded it and then watched it and did all of the analysis on my own and improved on my own. And that's you don't have to do that even right now. Dude, I made a freaking YouTube channel for you guys. You guys
Yeah,
have it so much easier, man.
the old days when we had to go and find lineups and smokes
Yes,
ourselves. There
yes.
was not such thing as YouTube,
YouTube.
you
Oh
know.
my god.
And I mean,
That's yeah.
I see Minimize here in the chat saying it's
Yeah.
hard not to disband with no funding and IRL commitments, and like I get that. But you have to work within the constraints, I guess, is my
Mm,
best advice. Like, if somebody has school and somebody has work and somebody has,
mm,
a loved one that they need to take care of, like, these are all real things. And of course, prioritization. I think when you're a group of friends and you feel like you guys can work together, like, first of all, acknowledge that it is hard. Like, 5 individuals, 5 different personalities,
yes.
5 different ways of looking at the world, 5 different ways of playing the game, and there's bound to be arguments, disagreements, things coming in the way. But I think if you're able to get past that, that's a beautiful thing. And you need to hold on to that. And there will be dark days and there will be good days. But if you can, if you have that collective mindset, stick with it. If it means that training has to be reduced to only 2 hours a day, I mean, 2 hours is better than zero, right? Like, I would even say, like, if your team excuse me, if your team can commit to 1 hour a day of training, even weekends, Saturday, Sunday, that's 7 hours a week better than zero.
Mm,
You know, there may be times where you step back and you're not performing as well, but if you can keep that up, you have a better chance than the teams that just come in and disband and come in and disband, and this constant washing of players. And
right.
I I I I think that is like the number one sort of thing that can be solved if possible.
Okay. So to recap a little bit, your advice is to stick together as much as possible. Don't just disband after a loss or after a top 8 finish. Second of all, you have to be consistent with your practice as well. Like, I always give this advice, right? You have 24 hours a day. Yes, you have school. Yes, you have priorities that you have to prioritize, but you can't find 2 hours in a day to chase the dream. I think that's bullshit. So instead of watching Netflix, instead of just doing nothing, lounging on the rebahan, as we call it here in Indonesia,
Yeah.
just laying in bed. Why don't you fucking watch a VOD and or just play a ranked game? And I think that's also something that a lot of people don't know or don't care or afraid to care because they're afraid that we're calling on their bullshit. But I want to talk about this if you don't mind. It's a vicious cycle. We
Yeah.
don't have a lot of support here in the region because we don't have results, but we can't get good results because we don't have that support that Minimize talked about. Have you found the answer with PaperX?
I mean, I wouldn't say we found the answer. Like in our case, let's be honest, we also got lucky with funding. It was a timing thing. I mean, my co-founder Matthew just so happened to want to start a team and had the finances
Yes.
to do so, right?
Yeah.
So that's luck. I mean, in a lot of things in life, you will find that luck has a part to play in it.
Big.
But luck also doesn't just find you out of nowhere, out of
No. You
nothing.
have to prep to
You've
become lucky.
you have to put yourself out there.
Yes.
You've gotta keep it up. I would say, like, and I'm just gonna talk, be a bit selfish here and talk about my story,
Please do.
but it was CS Go to Asia and me putting myself out there for the last what CS Go to Asia started in
It's
2016.
been a long time.
So it was four
Or
years of me grinding, flying to tournaments. Like I racked up $25,000 in credit card debt just flying to all these tournaments, right?
oh
I racked up
shit.
another $10,000 that I had to borrow from my dad just to like go to Katowice and
Damn.
cover the Asian teams playing in
In
what
the
you call it,
major.
in the minor. There was
Minor.
the
Even.
minor before,
Wow.
right? But I knew that that was what I wanted to do. I knew that like going out there and just um getting myself known as this like little journalist from Asia covering
Mm.
Counter-Strike that
Mm.
nobody really cared. But that sort of built on it to a point where people believed in me to be able to be willing to part ways with money, to be able to carry
Yes.
their dream
Yes.
forward, right? But like all along the way, I had no idea that just starting a Counter Strike news site would lead to starting a team. I had absolutely no idea when I got started. So it's like if you don't put yourself out there and at least try, you don't know what's going to happen. It could take 1 year, it could take two, it could take fucking 6 years, you
It,
know? But I guarantee you look back at anyone who started something remotely great, something worth talking about, that journey just didn't happen like overnight. It's it's a lot of blood, a lot of sweat, a lot of tears, a lot of sacrifices, and these things take time. There's nothing else to it. I'm
Oof.
sorry. I wish I had secret sauce for you guys, but
Well, there you have it, guys. No secret sauce, just freaking hard work and putting yourself out. And well, I can testify, right? I'm here right now talking to the CEO of Paper Eggs because I just put myself out there. Starting 3 years ago. If 3 years
exactly.
ago I did not invite Nikh to do a podcast when I was a nobody back then, which I'm still a nobody right now, but we can still do this podcast because I did what I had to do 3 years ago. But even then, that was not the start of it. I just played Counter Strike since I was 7, and I just continued playing and playing and playing until I got banned from all the Indonesian servers because I was good. Nikh, believe it or not, man, I was
No,
good.
I know, and I have to also thank you because your podcast that time, it
That
was
time,
2018,
yeah.
we did that. Like I had never heard of like Asia Tech podcasts and all this, and
No.
I must say, I don't think I've told you this, but I even till today I get randos adding me on LinkedIn like, "Hey, I saw your Asia Tech podcast,
What?
blah blah blah. Like, seems like you know your
Really?
shit. Like, let's talk." And I'm like, "Wow, I can't believe." And you maybe thought that that Asia Tech podcast was just a small thing, but it's like it's paid off, and that was like kind of your start of your journey experimenting with this crazy world, and then like I saw you go through that journey of being like this small unknown podcast to like look at you, man, on Twitch now, doing VCT watch parties and shit, like
That's
right?
true.
It's crazy, getting
It is.
donations of like $5,000, like it's crazy.
GG
It's a
Bleed, shout
crazy
out.
world.
It is a crazy world. That's exactly what I tell people too. Like, you see me now, but whatever small success I have right now, it was just because I just did it because I love it. You know, like in the start of Valorant was 2020, 2nd of June. I remember the date exactly because I remember telling myself, once this game drops, I'm gonna stream it every single day. I don't give a shit what people tell me. I don't care if this is the mistake of my life. I want to take the second chance. CSGO didn't happen for me. I was forced into early retirement from getting banned in all of the Indonesian servers. So maybe this is my second chance, right? You know what? Fuck it. I'll take it. I streamed
Yeah.
it for like 4 months, started making my connections, started getting viewers a little bit, right? And then alter ego players just came into my chat telling me, yo, come be our coach. Fuck it. Let's do it.
Why
And
not? Right?
voila, right? It's just one step after another. And I still want to be realistic here. I think privilege is a thing, and if you have it, use it. And if you don't have it, you have to work for it. There's just no other way around it, I think. Right? When people tell me, "Yo, how do I continue playing if I don't have the financial support? How do I try and get better results if I can't, focus on it professionally and just put all my time into it?" Well, tough luck, bro. That's what all of these other teams did back in back in the 2000s. Nobody was funded. There was literally no such thing as an esports organization. People still made it anyway. So I don't think there's an excuse. I think you just gotta work for it. And I think Nick just told us the gist of it, with Paper X, with him, and the journey that he's gone through. So yeah, stop asking the question because there is no the answer, and
Mm.
gotta keep going. But I do want to ask you though about this team, right? Uh,
Let's go.
do you feel like you got lucky with all the players? Because I feel like this team is such a perfect combination of the Southeast Asian taste, right? You got one Malaysian, you got three Singaporeans, including Alex, and you got two Indonesians. And this is such the perfect place to do it too. Singapore is like that place that's got a mix of every little country that we
Yeah.
got here in Southeast Asia, right? And
Yeah.
I identify with Paper X, man. I'm not licking your booty here, but I was born in Singapore.
A little.
A little bit, okay, a little bit. I was born in Singapore. I
Yeah.
went and studied in Singapore. I am Indonesian, and I live in the part of Indonesia where it's a bit Malay,
Hmm.
right? So that's Malaysia, Indonesia, and Singapore. So do you think that that is part of the success for PaperX? Like
Yeah.
sometimes
I
people
mean,
say, sorry, just to finish this. Sometimes people say it's hard to make a team work if it's not all from the same country. Like maybe there's comms issues, there's language barriers and stuff. Like how did you guys get over that? How did you make it work when you've mixed all these different people from different places?
okay, let's peel back
Yeah.
this answer a little bit, this question, right?
Sure.
Like there's the how did we make it work, and do I think that having a multinational roster is beneficial, right? Okay, so yeah, I mean, it's not easy. There's definitely language barriers. While all of our players speak English, some are better than others, right? And
Of course.
especially in the early days, I think even in the early days, Jason and Aaron, like I would attest to the last 2 years, their
Mm.
English has improved tremendously, right? In
Hold
the
up,
very early
Nick. Sorry,
days,
I just wanna. This is like a perfect point, guys. Any of you here still saying "Gak bisa bahasa Inggris"? Shut the fuck up and learn, bitch. Learn English, please.
uh,
It is so beneficial. Look at Forsaken and Aaron, Mind Freak. They are still here because they learned English in the past 2 years.
not to say
Otherwise,
that they didn't speak English. They did.
of course, they did.
It just improved a lot, you
Yes,
know.
and that
Yeah.
contributed to the success that PaperX has gotten today, right? Otherwise, it's gonna be
Potentially. Yeah.
potentially.
I think if anything, it's also just like you said, the
Mm.
mix. It's the energy that they bring. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're from Indonesia, Thailand, or Korea, whatever. it's like, who are you as a person,
Yeah.
right? Like, can your other teammates work with you? And yeah, to answer the other part of your question, I guess we did get a little bit lucky. I mean, each time we picked up a new player, the timing just sort of fit. With Benkai at the very start, like if we go back to the CS:GO days, Benkai like joined and he had just finished army, right?
Right. Oh, that's
So
big.
it was like that was a really clutch moment,
It
like no
is.
pun intended for Benkai, being the clutch master.
Yeah.
But he somehow he was like, "Hey guys, I'm finishing army," and Alex
Mm.
was like, "Yeah, Ben is finishing army
Mm.
soon," and we're like, "Yeah, like
Okay.
okay, does he want to play?" And then
Mm.
it was like, "Of course." But Ben in the Counter Strike days was being talked about or like being a bunch of different orgs, some of the Chinese orgs and stuff. But I think he just felt a bit at home being with our players and like our
Mm.
team.
Mm.
Of course, Singapore team, and he knows Alex, he knew Davai, he knew DSN. They were like, really close family, basically. And so it just felt natural for him to join us. And then the rest is history. And then when you talk about Forsaken, I mean, we were actually talking about Forsaken joining the CS team when he had a brief stint with the Chinese team called
Yes.
JMT, that Weibo team, I think it is. And then I don't know what happened there, honestly. I don't know the details, but like suddenly someone said like, Jason is free agent again. And we're like, huh, really?
Huh?
So, like again, that was like another opportune time. And we're like, hey,
Right.
Jason, do you want to join Paper X? And and it was like, okay, great, that fit. And then later on with like the whole changing Tommy out as well, there was Shiba, right? And
Yes.
Tommy was a tough decision for us because it had nothing to do with Tommy. It was just, we just felt that out of all the players who transitioned, we knew we needed to learn fast and like adopt new styles and mentality for this new game. And unfortunately, Tommy just wasn't keeping up with the pace that
I see.
that everyone expected.
Mm.
It was a really hard decision for us because Tommy's such a great guy. He's full of energy, full of life, and it's hard to find people like, when people step into a room and just bring joy, and then Tommy does that in the server as well. Like he's the type of person that can bring the team up when they're
When
all
they're
down
down.
bad, and
Yeah, yeah.
and he'll just make people laugh. And like thankfully we have a little bit that in Davai now.
Oh man, he's
Davai
just such a clown.
Davai is such a clown. So
I love him. I love him. Damn.
and so then all of these things just like sort of happen in a way that just made sense and was, yeah.
Okay. So how much is it about attitude? How much is it about mechanical skill?
I would say it's a hard 50-50. Like you have to have
Really?
both.
Okay.
You have to have both. I mean, you could be the most skilled player, but if you're showing up late, you're not on time, you disrespect the
Shit.
org, you disrespect like your fellow players, you're gonna cause headaches.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Yeah.
Okay. So next question then. Discoverability, right, for these newer players. Like I think that's part of the things that I was trying to do. There's this thing we do here called the Sleepy Academy. Like I I just put out a random name out there, and fuck it. Let me try and help you guys. You want to be a pro? Okay, come here. Let me watch
Mm,
you play. Let me watch you scrim, and at least now you know me, so maybe I can help you get into a team. And honestly, we are kind of close to that. I'm actually about to help some players play for an org now. So
nice.
part of it is, I guess, this is actually totally a different topic, but I think it's pretty interesting because a lot of players here, right? They watch this, they watch PaperX play, and they're thinking, "I want to be that." Right. So it's just about dreams, uh, selling to these people. But
Mhm.
I also want to talk about how they can achieve that dream. And part of it is, of course, they have to be good. Like you said, they have to have the attitude as well. So I agree with you on the 50-50. You have to be good and you have to have the attitude. But I think there's this one missing piece that a lot of, even pros that are signed in orgs right now, I still think they can improve on this point. And that is branding for yourself,
Yes, for
right?
sure.
And I feel like you guys have it nice with Forsaken streaming. Jing has also started streaming, getting like thousands of viewers per stream now. And of course, part of it is because you're the champions. Who doesn't want to watch the
I
champions,
mean,
right?
yes,
Yeah,
winning
but
helps everything.
yes, definitely.
Yes.
But also they have to want to do it, and I think they do want to do it, and that helps the
Well,
org, that helps the players, and that's still not happening in most of Southeast Asia. Do you think that's a problem they have to fix?
yes, I'm glad you asked that, and I'm glad you brought that up too, because that is a really big part of the puzzle, and actually a piece of advice that we can give to younger up and coming
Mm,
players.
mm,
And I do see a lot of them doing it, but like maybe they can do more. And
right.
what that point is, what you said, is building your personal brand, right? I can definitely say that all of the players when they joined us, this is all the way back in 2020 when we
Mm,
had the CS:GO team.
mm.
Um, I don't think they would have streamed if it wasn't in their contracts. Okay. Some of
There
them
you go.
maybe some of them maybe would have streamed because they like for example, Jason already had a good following. Davai
True.
used to stream on Facebook and he had quite a good following on Facebook until he transitioned to Twitch. And
Okay.
like without going into details, basically with our players in their contract, there is also a component that they have a minimum hours they need to stream. And it's not a lot. It's really very manageable, but it's intentionally done because of course, look, at the end of the day, we have a business. So we have sponsors that need airtime, right? And one of the avenues that we can sort of provide that for the sponsors is through the player
Yeah.
streams, you know? So there's an intention there. But at the same time, for us as you know, passionate founders, we were thinking, okay, when these players are done on this team, what's next for them? You know, how can we help them be more attractive to other teams?
Yes.
Be like more financially, like give them other ways that they can earn,
Mm.
you know? Not to say like I think we pay our players very handsomely and you know fairly,
Okay.
but at the same time, there are ways for them to earn more and do more, right? And one of them is streaming. One of them is having your own personal brand. So for people who are not signed to an org, do you have a good personality? Do you already have some stream following? Do you have a Twitter following, an Instagram following? If there's one thing you can do right now as an esports player in our region, in the Valorant scene, if you don't have a Twitter, what the hell are you doing? You know,
Thank you.
like,
I-
I'm sorry, but, like, how do you expect to be found if you don't have a Twitter or you
it,
don't even have, like, some public
yes.
profile,
Yes.
right?
Oh my god.
Like, so that's one thing. The next thing is grind on the leaderboards.
Oh
You
yeah.
you know,
Visibility.
I think it's funny when people put themselves a secret agent and they're, like, number 10 on the leaderboard.
Why?
Like, why? What's so s are you cheating, bro?
Are
Like,
you
you know?
actually playing Valorant just to play the game? Oh my
You
god.
know? So So like I can understand if you are already on a pro team and you
Right,
have a
right,
name for
right.
yourself and you want to
Sure.
be secret agent, sure.
Fucking
But if you're actually trying to be discovered and be recognized as a good player and you put yourself as secret agent, then what are you doing, man? And then you just go home and sit and complain like nobody wants to sign me. Why? Like
Oh
yeah,
man. Yeah, that's part of it, right? Discoverability. I feel like there's a lot of things players can do, actually. Right? Just
absolutely.
create content, stream, post on TikTok. The TikTok is so easy to play now. You know, like you can get a 10K
The
followers
TikTok
in like yeah,
the
so
TikTok
easy.
algorithm is super beneficiary to organic content, you
Yeah.
know. It hasn't reached the stage of like high commercialism where TikTok is trying to just make money from advertisers.
Right.
That will happen. So while it's not that, I
Mm.
suggest everyone open a TikTok
Go.
account and just you know, if you have friends or a girlfriend in your life that you want to do things with
Do
on your
it.
TikTok like dances and shit, just do it, man. And get yourself out
Yes,
there,
yes,
be
yes.
known for something, put your clips out there, start a YouTube channel. Like just put yourself out there. One follower is better than zero, right? Like that's the truth. You know, you can't and slowly one will become 10, 10 will become 100. Even when you're streaming, slowly, you know what? I know the grind. You start streaming, it's just like you and a friend. And then you're like, wow, I have two viewers. Ha ha
Yep.
ha. And then next thing you know, look at Sleepy. Now he has almost 600 viewers. Like Sleepy had to start somewhere too, guys,
I
right?
did. My God,
So
that was a tough start. Streaming is never easy, and I'm glad a lot of you actually think about doing it. But just a bit of advice for me, actually. um, just don't do it because you wanted the numbers. Do it because
Yes.
it's sort of like a, think of it like it's documenting your journey. Like I did streaming, it was just because I want people to know that yes, I started streaming Valorant since 2nd of June 2020. And it just so happens that along the way people started watching, and then I get offered a coaching role, and then now I watch Sparty and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
it's more about what you're actually doing instead of the numbers that's somewhere around here, like whatever you're watching, there's 600, right?
Hmm.
That's just a byproduct of you continuously doing whatever you're doing just because you want to do those shit. So yeah, it's about doing more than anything. And so, okay, what have been your night thoughts? All this time, going from CS:GO to Asia, Impulse, Paper X, and winning APAC. Like, can you share with us some of the darkest days and the thoughts you thought? Like, oh my god, I think I'm ready to quit tomorrow. Or
Dude, it
has that
happens
ever happened?
like, yeah, not quit, okay,
Okay.
but I have told people, like my close confidants, my friends, like I simultaneously love this job and hate this job. Um, and this by the job I'm talking about is being a team owner, being like, the roller coaster ride of you just not knowing, sometimes just not having that control over anything.
Yeah.
Once once the game starts, like, of course we have to trust our players and they're gonna do that, but it's like hindsight's always 2020. And when you're sitting on the other side of the stream
True.
watching and they make like the stupidest mistakes, and it's like that they know, right? Like when the match is all done and dusted, that the players are gonna look back and be like, "Oh my
That
god,
was a
why did I
stupid
do that?"
mistake. Yes,
Yeah,
yes. They know.
like we've all been there. Even like yourself, you're a ranked player, whatever.
Yeah.
You get mad at yourself for making such a stupid
Yeah.
mistake, like. But I think, yeah, of course. I mean, there's been dark moments. I think there's too many to like specify
Okay.
one. Um, but honestly, like there are times where you just think like, why are we doing this? Like what's the point in a
Yeah.
way? But I don't think it's enough to kind of like slow you down. If anything, it just sort of like without pain there is no gain, right? It's as cliche as it sounds, but it's the truth. Like pain reminds you that you're growing. Pain reminds you that you have like something else to look forward to, you know? Because like when what's after pain? After pain is healing, and growth, right? So it's like you've just got to get through it, man. I don't know what else to say to that. Yeah.
So dark days will be long as shit, but if you look back 3 years, then know that you went through it. So now you're here.
Hmm.
So what is this project for you? Why did you even start it in the first place? Is there an end goal, or are you just doing this for the journey, or just enjoying the ride? Like, is there anything that you
Well,
plan on leaving?
leaving in what
As
sense?
in a legacy, maybe.
A
Are you
legacy?
are
I
you
mean,
trying to
I
make
don't
a
know.
statement?
I don't think we've thought that far of like
Okay.
legacy. But of course, I think the dream is to win a championship, right?
Oof. That'd
At
be
some
fun.
point. That could be a 10-year journey. It could
Mm-hmm.
happen like in a
Mm-hmm.
year. I don't know.
Okay.
Valorant, we're confident with our abilities in Valorant, but it's like not gonna say that like we're like the top or anything. Like, we
Mm.
won APAC once, guys. Like, great. I'm enjoying it. It's a great feeling. Don't
It
get me
is.
wrong. But I'm also objective in the sense that like good things don't last.
Yeah, that's
You're
true.
you're top one now, and that could be for 3 months, 6 months, 8 months. But it really just depends on it's so many factors that you can't control.
That's true.
Like everything I just said in this podcast too about like grinding and being consistent and keeping good work. I mean, there are people who you may work 12 hours as another team that works 13, and at some point they're going to play catch up to you, right? And that's just the nature of life and change. But I think for sure, I mean, why are we doing this? Why did we start a team? Because we want to win, man, right? Um, as a kid, like playing Counter-Strike and then playing amateur CS, semi-pro CS, and then forgetting that life and going to university and then starting work and like in my 20s just working jobs and like everybody else does, forgetting about gaming. But really like deep down in here, there was always this nagging feeling like, man, I just want to like fucking lift a trophy on a stage,
Oh
and then
shit.
like, I can't do that now, I'm not a player, but I can do that through, like, the team that we have, right? And that's a dream that has never settled in our heads, and it's always there. It's like a little dot on the horizon that's just calling you, and so hopefully one day it happens, right?
Okay. Do you
Yeah.
think it's gonna happen next month?
I was warned not to be baited with questions like this because we have a lot of superstitions in Paper X, and,
You
we're
do?
very we're a very auspicious crowd, from everyone from, like, our founders to our graphic
My
designers to
god.
so no jinx,
No
anything can
jinx.
happen, alright? Andy, honestly, like, I will say this, I
Okay.
think the team is in the best position it's been in a long time in terms of their mentality, their mechanics, they
Mm,
put in a lot of work, their training, and I think it's paid off, like, it's shown in our journey, and, like, that we're number
definitely.
1 in APAC. But like anything can happen. It's the fucking it's like the top 12 teams in the world. And yes, you can argue format, this, that, but who gives a
Who
shit?
gives
Because
a
at the end of
shit?
the day, Masters is the 12 best teams in the world, okay?
True.
And so it's like at that stage, at that point, literally every team can beat everyone, I
Okay.
feel. Um, it it's like anything can happen. And I think actually even just looking at the teams that are gonna
Mm,
be there, they're also all in a way like at in their best forms, you know? I mean,
that's true.
let's look at like the Asian teams that will be represented. Like, okay, DRX.
DRX.
Over overrated, underrated. Like our players love to say that they are fucking phenomenal online and then in LAN they shit the bed. Okay. And then Zeta had a
Zeta.
huge roster change, right?
Overhaul,
They've
yeah.
And I think they're looking strong. I mean, like again, can you say that Zeta is better than PRX and PRX is we don't know until they're gonna
That's
play
true.
in Iceland. Um and and I mean like I think even like Fnatic is looking even though they lost out
Yeah.
in the yeah, they're looking in the best form that they have in a while. So like everyone is in the top shape. Like the guard came out of nowhere and then it's just like sweeped NA, but they went from the lower bracket.
That's true.
So like I think yeah, it's hard to really say honestly, but thankfully, we're in the top, 8 with the double elim
Yes.
brackets, and so,
Yes.
there's some added edge there, I hope, but, whew, yeah.
Damn. Dude, I can I just say I'm so excited for you. I remember this last year. When we were going through the lower brackets for Southeast Asia playoffs. You messaged me, right? Yo, good luck tomorrow, man. We can meet in Berlin. And we didn't.
I know. I was so sad. Like, I was really rooting for you guys to just,
Thank
like,
you.
sweep
Thank
that
you.
lower bracket.
Yeah. Um and in the end Brent didn't go and we didn't get that second slot, but that was on us, I think. We didn't secure a visa and shit. But thankfully Team Liquid is allowed to do that, so we 12 teams. But anyway, so yeah, Iceland. When are you flying?
Actually just booked our flights today,
Today? Okay.
so I think, like, next Tuesday night.
Right.
But basically,
Oh, that is so tight.
we'll be there by, like, the 6th or the 7th, if I'm not wrong.
Thanks. Okay. Wow.
6th or 7th April, sometime like that.
And there's no quarantine anymore?
There
There
is.
is. And
Yeah.
so, but you guys are gonna be playing on stage, right?
Um, yeah,
Or
I
yeah.
guess so. Look,
Wow, it's
I
such a.
we haven't received like the full schedule and everything.
Oh, I see. All right. All right.
But what's happened is like what we do know is that there will be
Mm,
a 5-day quarantine, and
okay.
that's nothing to do with like Iceland or whatever. Like
All right.
Riot Games, this is a bubble event,
I see.
so
Yes, yes, yes.
the safety, COVID, everything like that. I mean, we don't want anyone to catch it,
Of
even
course.
though like it hopefully it's out of the woods. Like we're getting in that stage where the pandemic is settling down,
Yes.
but this is still an event, and there's a tight schedule. So I guess they're just trying to be safe, which we
Mm,
understand. But
mm.
I believe it's for all the teams. So like all the teams coming to Iceland will have to isolate for 5 days
Okay.
before they're allowed to like go do their media stuff and blah 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 blah. There's some like rules. I won't get into that, but there are some like, rules like it's not a complete isolation. Like we don't all have to stay in our
Okay.
bedrooms. We're allowed to like walk out and do
Wow.
stuff, but it's
Nice.
like it's very constrained. Like there's no other than that. And then after the 5 days are done, we have time to practice whatnot. There'll be a bunch of like media stuff, I guess.
Okay.
Um, whatever Riot has planned for us, interviews, this and that, and then I don't know actually when our first match is gonna be at this point.
All
All
right.
I know
You
is that
guys, yeah, you guys can wait a
yeah,
little bit, right? Because there's
we'll
groups.
have a bit of time. So like
Yeah.
all I know is that the tournament starts on the 10th. So
Okay.
I'm guessing those are the start of the
Those are the
group
start. Yes.
stages,
Yes. Yes.
and then by I don't know, I guess the 16th or
Yeah.
17th they'll have
Probably.
like yeah.
Okay. All right. You must be excited.
I
What are
am.
you looking forward to the most? Aside from the games, right? Forget the games, but we're just talking about international travel. This is your second LAN in the past
Yes.
year, brother.
Yeah.
I've never been to a LAN, bro. God damn it! You got to go to a LAN when there's freaking COVID. So I'm really obviously envious, but I'm really happy for you guys. So what are you most
Thank
looking
you.
forward to right now? Going to Iceland? Is it the
Uh,
travel, the vlogging, or just the food?
I think the most, I mean, I've
Mm.
never been to Iceland, so
Shit. All right.
selfish answer is I'm looking forward to Iceland, just
God damn it.
be,
An
being in
answer.
Iceland, the scenery, like I don't know. I mean, I've only ever seen what any of you have seen on like documentaries
Right. Right. Right.
and on the internet, so it should be amazing. I
Okay.
don't doubt it. Then of course, I would say I am of course like I'm looking forward to that land environment, just being there, the
Yes.
energy, the vibes, meeting other teams,
Mm.
and competing, man. Like I'm
Yes.
definitely looking forward to seeing like which teams we go up against
Right.
and how well we do or not well we do this time, right? Um, there's so much to learn as well when you're in LAN, right? There's also like Jing has never met any of his teammates, um, so that's gonna
This
be a
is
first
this
for
is
him.
last year all over again. You guys
Yeah,
just
with
have never
Shiba,
met, and
like
you're gonna meet because you qualified to Masters.
yeah, so Jing
Damn.
gets to meet Forsaken and Mind
Yeah.
Freak and
Yeah.
Davai for the first time IRL.
God
So
damn. All
yeah.
right. All right. Okay. 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 That's fun. Oh my god. Okay. Last question before we finish today.
Mm.
What do you look for in a content creator?
I see where this is going.
No, I'm
Um,
just objective question. Just asking.
I haven't really put a lot of thought into this, to be honest.
Oh.
So you're
Okay.
putting me on the spot here, but
Nice. Honest answers only.
well, I mean, I have to be honest. Like, there's no point beating around the bush.
Yes.
But I think if there's one thing we're looking for is like, and I think it's the same thing that we look for with our players,
Mm.
right? The right attitude, the right sort of the passion at the
Okay.
end of the day. It doesn't matter if you only have 1,000 followers. Are you willing to do this long term?
Mm.
Do you have a plan? Do you have
Mm.
a
Mm.
something? Do you provide value to your audience? Right? Like, are you doing something like what's in it for you that's different?
Right.
Like there are literally, and again, no offense to like anyone who's really trying to make it out there, but there are literally like 100 guys making like YouTube tutorials,
Mm.
and there are literally like 100 guys doing like bathtub streams.
That's
Like
true.
how are you different?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
how are
Yes.
you different, really? I think that's kind of like what we look for.
Right.
And like with our two content creators, like when Cass joined us,
Mm.
she had very small following, but like we just liked that her story was different, and her story really was like, if I had to pinpoint it to one thing, it's like
Mm.
she's just the girl next door, like she wasn't trying to be like this e-girl or anything like that. She was just her. She's just
Mm.
Cass.
Mm.
And then like Rio Jaja, same story. He was just a guy that got retrenched during the
COVID.
pandemic.
Pandemic. Yeah.
COVID forced him into streaming, and then he just found joy in playing games, all sorts of games. It wasn't just Valorant, it
Yeah.
was like
Yeah.
everything. It was mobile games, PC games, console games, and we just really liked that whole vibe that he was bringing about. Um, variety streaming and like doing different types of content.
Right.
So yeah.
So, how many channels out there got to do a podcast with the CEO of PaperX, right? I'm just saying this here is a good sign.
It is. You're on the right track, buddy. Just tooting my own horn here.
Alrighty then, I think that's pretty much it, everybody. Oh my god, Nick, thank you so much, man. It's been 3 years. A lot
Thank
of
you,
shit
man.
happened, and I'm so happy with the progress that you've made with the team, with whatever you got going on, and I think that story at the start where you told us that you jumped, and took the leap to just really stop whatever you were doing and just do this full fucking time. That was scary, man. I know exactly what it feels like, and now that we've got results, you've got results, I've got some results, right? Now it's easy to say that, yeah, I knew I was gonna do this, but there are a lot of people out there just not making it, and as heartbreaking as it is, not everyone can make it here. But yeah, if you actually want to do this, then you just gotta show that you really want to do it, and results will come because it is a byproduct of what you do. Nick, last thing you want to say to fans or share your thoughts to end this podcast with, please. Time is yours.
I think I would just add to what you just said and just finish off with like, if you do it and you're not finding success, that's also okay. Because in the process, if you find out that you don't like what you're doing, that's just as valuable as
That's
finding out that
true.
you're good at doing it. You know? If you're 19, 20 and you just fuck around for the next 5 years trying a
That's
bunch of
fine.
different shit, you're 25, dude. You still have a whole life ahead of you. So don't get put down. Keep doing what you're doing and look at Sleepy and follow like, just look at people that have sort of like made it. Don't try and be them. Just be you. At the end of the day, be you. I think that's like
Yeah,
as cliche advice as it is, like be you
but that
because
is
like
so
there's
true.
7.5 billion of us and like all of us have something to
Yeah.
provide, right? So that's it. And thanks so much to everyone. I hope you enjoyed this, and thanks for supporting PaperX. Um, you know, we try to read all your messages and everything, and we really appreciate all the love and support you guys give us. So thanks.
Alrighty then. There we go. Don't forget to read my message, Nick. But GG, well played. Paper X, congratulations for qualifying once again to Iceland. We will be rooting for you. You are the reps of Southeast Asia and Asia Pacific. So let's get it. We're gonna be doing the watch parties, so you can expect some crazy reactions from my side when we watch you
Nice,
guys
nice.
play out there, and you guys can just replay. I'll be posting it on Twitter and tagging you guys. So anyway, I'm
All
looking
right.
forward to that. Hope you
I'll
guys
get our
have a
content
good.
team to keep an eye.
Yes, please. And yeah, have safe travels, man. And good luck. Have fun.
Thank you.
Fly that flag high, bro. Thank you so much for coming in, and we'll see you next time.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you guys. Bye
Thanks,
bye.
man. Cheers. Take care, dude. Bye, 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 bye.